Hello, and welcome to the introduction to the Colby.io podcast. Today, I'll just be introducing myself and going over the show a little bit, just so everyone can get a peek into what's going to be going on with this exciting new chapter in this exciting new podcast. So, without further ado, let's get into it. All right. So before I talk about me and what this podcast is going to be about, figured I give a little PSA just to mention that all of this is completely unscripted, off the cuff, and all of that. I find that scripting for me personally just makes things a lot more difficult and challenging to do. It's the same thing with all my academic papers. Every time I would have to write one, I've never written an outline once. Everything has been just completely free flowing. With that said, not that I have anything against it, it's just hard for me. But without any further ado, I'll give a brief introduction myself, and then we'll jump into what this podcast is going to be about and what the structure of it is going to be. And I can guarantee you, it's pretty unique. So if you're an experienced podcast listener, hopefully this excites you, because I'm excited because I have never really seen a podcast that does something like this. But let's get into it. So if you've been to a lot of interviews, or if you've seen interviews, or you just listen to a lot of podcasts, you probably notice that when someone's introducing themselves, the interviewer is usually like, all right, in 30 seconds, what are some things people should know about you? What do you do? And usually they do great. They say their company, they say what their title is, they say what they do. I am probably not going to be making a 30-second introduction, because even in a 7-minute presentation, I was just able to get through what I needed to get through. But either way, I'll give it hell. So as you probably noticed, the name of this podcast is Colby.io, and my name's Colby. I am a SUNY New Paltz graduate with an English bachelor's degree and creative writing focus. I really want to write books. Currently working on one right now, actually. And other than that, I'm working on a bunch of short stories, poems, blogs. I just love to write and just see what comes out of my hands, per se. But outside of my education, I am a really big reader. I kind of live by the motto of, to be a good writer, you have to be an excellent reader. I am a huge nerd. I play a lot of tabletop role-playing games like Pathfinder, Dungeons & Dragons, Starfinder. I'm really big into video games, cybersecurity. The list goes on and on. And through these interests, we will definitely be having conversations and exploring different aspects of these areas like literary critique and such. But before I show all my cards too soon, that was a very brief introduction to me. Let's talk about what this podcast is going to be about, because that's what's more important. So, the main type of content that you're going to see are smaller, bite-sized episodes that delve into a variety of different fields like literature, cybersecurity, gaming, writing tips, just all of that, which are perfect for, a trip to get coffee, short breaks from the day, 20 minutes, 25 to 30 minutes, maybe even 15-minute long episodes, just right to the point, tapping directly into these nuggets of inspiration and wisdom and learning, which is a big thing for me. I really want to, through the use of this podcast, encourage growth, learning, and just entertainment. I found the best way to learn something, and I give a lot of credit of this, like, to my boss, who really inspired this in me. I've always had it in the back of my mind, but I never really explored it or thought it worked until recently. Truly the best way to learn something is to teach it. So while I may be developing my own writing, I've been doing it for a few years now, where I've picked up a lot of things that I wish I'd known when I started, and just a bunch of different lessons I've learned that I would love to teach, which would not only help my listeners, but help me get better as well, which would feed this circle of creating content, because then it only gets better over time. But other than writing, we'll be dipping into maybe some cybersecurity news, some gaming news, and just all of this interesting content that maybe people don't want to hear for an hour and a half, 2 hours, but are perfect for these medium to very short episodes that give you right to the action. But those type of episodes aren't the only content you're going to see. Because, like I mentioned, I really want to encourage education and growth through the use of this podcast and other Colby.io stuff, like my blog, and just all this other stuff that I'm going to be producing as I ramp up my efforts as I get more time. There will be longer episodes on here, like the normal style hour and a half, hour and 45-minute podcasts that you see when it's usually a guest. So those will be deep dives into various fields with people who are knowledgeable in those areas. So hopefully getting some people who really know cybersecurity, and we can talk about it at a level that everybody can approach it, and also bring it into a little of the intermediary levels. So even if you know it, you can still gain something from it. Maybe even get some of my professors to talk about what they teach, and just to bring interesting stories, all to encourage and foster growth. Because I found that I get a lot of enjoyment from learning, and I was lucky to interact with very energetic and interesting people who cultivated this idea that you should always be learning. So I'm trying to bring that idea forward to everyone who listens to hopefully unlock something new. And at the end of the day, if someone says, I learned something from that episode, it might not have been the best produced. The guy talking, me, might have not had the most fluent of speech, but you know what? I learned something. And that is the goal of not only the shorter episodes that get right to the point, which will be just me talking about something that I know about, but also the longer episodes that you can get a lot out of with other people who are experts. So that's what you can expect from this podcast. And because I'm a writer, I will say there's probably going to be somewhat of a writing bias, but I'm genuinely interested in so many things that no matter what you like, you'll probably find something here for you. So I'm very excited to get started on this journey with you, and I'm very excited to get better at this. And hopefully in a few years, I can look back to a catalog of episodes, probably come back to this one right now and cringe at how horrible I was, and, just see where it goes. So once again, I really appreciate everyone being here, and welcome to Colby.io.